My name is Kevin Jennings, and I'm president of the Tenement Museum. It gives us tremendous pleasure to welcome you here this morning for this event on behalf of HR 6. The Tenement Museum for 31 years has told the uniquely American stories of immigrants, migrants. The Tenement Museum for 31 years has told the uniquely American stories of immigrants, migrants, and refugees in the ongoing creation of our nation in order to fulfill our vision of a country that embraces the fundamental role of immigration in the ongoing American story. That is why we are pleased to welcome our elected officials today who are working to continue the story of America by advancing HR 6, which will create a pathway to citizenship for hundreds of thousands of deserving Americans. We believe at the Tenement Museum that immigration makes America great. And we're honored to welcome today many of our elected officials who share our point of view, including Representative Espaillat, Representative Nadler, Representative Maloney, Representative Clarke, our Mayor, de Blasio, our host today, Representative Velázquez, and the leader of the free world, Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And with that, we welcome to the room our host for this today, our Congresswoman here on the Lower East Side and a longtime honorary trustee of the Tenement Museum, Representative Nydia Velazquez.
Ready? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am Congresswoman Nydia Velazquez. And I am so honored to be in this, one of the finest institutions in Manhattan, the Lower East Side Tenement Museum. Indeed, we work together with some of my colleagues to pass legislation to include this institution into the National Park Service. We have a lot of students who come through this institution and a lot of tourists to learn the immigration, the experience that some of the immigrants' families live by staying in this tenement museum. Well, it used to be a tenement, now it's a museum. Thank you all for being here today, making your voices heard for our immigrants, brothers and sisters. Let me especially thank Speaker Pelosi, who you will hear from in just a moment, and Mayor de Blasio. Both of you are strong advocates and champions for immigrant communities, not only in New York, but elsewhere. I should also thank Lucille Roybal-Allard from California, who is not here today, but is also one of the architects of this legislation. Let me also acknowledge and thank Make the Road New York and their executive director, Javier Valdez. While Javier is traveling today, Make the Road was instrumental in working with me on the TPS portion of this bill, so I wanted to salute them. Today, we are gathered in the Lower East Side Tenement Museum. This local institution celebrates the waves of immigrants, generations that have arrived in New York, carved out a foothold, labored to build a better life, and in the process, make New York what is today, an America stronger and more vibrant. In fact, immigrants make America, America.
Yes. Yes.
This museum celebrates a simple yet beautiful, distinctly American idea that anyone can come here from any corner of the globe. And if you work hard, play by the rules, and contribute to your community, then you are an American. Today, we're going to hear from a few immigrants who are in that situation. They have worked hard, they have been here for years. They have deep roots in their communities, But because of Donald Trump's hateful anti-immigrant policies, they now live in fear that they will face deportation and potentially be separated from their families. But guess what? We are not going to let that happen.
Right.
As sometimes I say, for New Yorkers, immigrants are our neighbors, and New Yorkers stand up for our neighbors. That is why I have joined with Congresswoman Robert Allard and Yvette Clarke to author H.R. 6, the American Dream and Promise Act. This legislation essentially says to the young dreamers, if you came here under the age of 17, and you have been here for 4 or more years nonstop, then you can stay in the U.S. If you are in that same situation and you have been employed most of the time, or you have served in our military, or have obtained or are working toward your college degree, then you can apply for legal permanent residence. And from there, you may pursue a path to citizenship. These young people are some of our hardest workers. They are American in every way except on paper. They are exactly the kind of immigrants we want in this nation, and this bill will help them stay here. Our bill has similar provisions for recipients of TPS, or Temporary Protected Status, or DED, Defend Enforced Departure. If you have been here in the U.S. for 3 years, then you can apply for legal permanent residence, and from there, you pursue citizenship. When we talk about our TPS and DED populations, we're talking about some of our most vulnerable neighbors. These are people who fled natural disasters or political violence. They came here with the heartfelt belief that the words inscribed at the base of the Statue of Liberty, just 3 miles from here, give me your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, are not a hollow tourist attraction. These words are a sacred American compact, etched into the character of our nation. They are a promise we still honor. And we are going to prove that to the dreamers, TPS recipients, and those in the DED program. The legislation I helped author currently has 210 co-sponsors in the House of Representatives. In coming days, we are going to push for additional sign-on. Then I expect it will move through the Judiciary Committee, Jerry Nadler's committee, and not long after that, it will pass on the House floor. But part of the reason we're here today is to amplify the importance of this bill to our Senate Republican colleagues. I know there are senators on the other side of the aisle who privately acknowledge this is the right thing to do. It is my hope when this bill clears the House that they will feel the need to stand up, do the right thing, and help pass it into law. This is the American way, and it is the right thing to do. With that, let me turn it over. And now we will hear from a great champion, our mayor of New York, Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to first say we are so blessed to have as one of our representatives in the Congress such an extraordinarily passionate leader on behalf of all of the immigrants who have made this city and this nation great. Let's thank Nydia Velazquez for her leadership. Yep, Yvette Clarke always. I just want to start with a very quick story. It's a story of a couple named Giovanni and Anna. And they lived very near to here. and they came to this country from very small towns in southern Italy, and they would not have been acceptable in the eyes of our president. You know, the president likes to talk about quote-unquote chain migration as a derogatory term, people following their families to the United States to make a better life. This couple followed family members, came here, and they would not have met the president's definition of people who could contribute. They did not speak English. They did not have advanced degrees. They didn't have jobs worked out in advance. They came here with love for their family, with heart, with soul, with passion, with energy, with a desire to work hard. And I am so proud to say they were my grandparents. And they lived near to here. They lived near here. And even though neither one of them ever could have dreamed of college, all of their daughters went to college. And I have the tremendous honor of being here as your mayor because of their hard work, their sacrifice, the risk they took. And everyone in this room could tell their own version of that story. So we have to keep that in mind, because there's a blunt reality that we have to face in this country, that we have to either accept that immigration has made us strong across generations and generations, regardless of race or country of origin, or we're going to live in a hypocrisy, an unacceptable hypocrisy from my point of view, where we say that yesterday's immigrants were worthy, but today's are not somehow. So I believe that people in this country understand quite well that we have thrived because of immigration, that it has made us strong, and that they know our dreamers in particular need to be protected. We see it over and over again that is in the heart of the American people, and that's why this legislation is legislation as time has come. Very quickly want to say what this means. You know, for hundreds of thousands of families, they still live in doubt. They live in pain. They live in fear. I've talked to them right here in our city, but I've talked to them around the country. Imagine if you're doing everything right, but you don't know if you'll get to stay. Anybody who has not spoken to a dreamer or someone here on TPS, just trying to make ends meet, trying to help their family back home, if you haven't spoken to them and heard their hearts, it's hard to imagine what this means in human terms. But our nation's policies are creating fear among our own people, because these are our own people. And we have to be clear, these are our neighbors, these are our brothers and sisters. In this city, we're proud to be a city of immigrants, and we also put the lie to the notion that somehow immigrants are a drag on our nation or on our economy. In this city, we have the strongest economy we have ever had. We have the lowest crime we have ever had since the 1950s, and we have the most immigrants we have had in a century. Put those pieces together. Immigrants helped us to become stronger, safer, more prosperous. Now, finally, something's starting to change in our national discussion, because the people spoke in November 2018. The people thought we needed a new Speaker of the House. They were right. And we needed a new majority in the House. And can I just take one personal point of privilege as an Italian American to say, Speaker, in the entire history of the American people, and Italians have been here since the 1700s, but you are literally the Italian American who reached the highest heights in the history of this nation, and we are so proud of you. God bless you. To Speaker Pelosi, to Congress members Velázquez and Clarke and Nadler, Maloney, your leadership means so much. And we need you right now, and all those folks that I mentioned are depending on you. Well, the good news is it's in your heart and soul to make sure that people are protected for the good of this whole nation. Because these are folks who are part of our communities, who help make us stronger, who help our economy to be stronger. They are our neighbors, they are our friends. And a quick message to all dreamers in New York City, to all TPS recipients, to anyone who would be positively affected by this legislation. I want you to know that we in New York City, while we are waiting for change in Washington, we have your back in New York City. We will protect you. We will not ask your documentation status. Our police never ask your documentation status. They work with all people, all immigrants. Our hospitals, our schools, we respect everyone and want everyone to thrive. If anyone feels they are being threatened by deportation, if anyone fears that their family is in danger and they need help, you can call 311 for free legal advice and for representation. That is a policy of this city. You just call and you say Action NYC, and help will be given to you in whatever language you speak. So here's our way of sending a message to Washington. We believe in these good people who are our neighbors. We will stand by them. In a country still sorting itself out on these issues, we are proud in New York City to be a beacon, I hope to be an antidote to the challenges that we see out there. This city shows that respect for all people is the way forward for this country as well. Now, a few quick words in Spanish. Las políticas federales. It's going to be with an Italian accent because the speaker is here. Las políticas federales afectan a familias, amigos y compañeros de trabajo y estudios en nuestra ciudad de inmigrantes. Por eso, estamos aquí unidos para pedir la aprobación de la ley federal de la promesa y el sueño americano. Quiero decirle a los inmigrantes, nuestra ciudad está con ustedes. Llamen al 311, pregunten por Acción NYC y les daremos la ayuda que necesitan en su idioma. We're here to help, and we're here to support our immigrant brothers and sisters. And when this legislation passes, we will be a better, wholer nation. With that, it is my great honor to bring forward Steve Choi.
Good morning, everybody. And on behalf of the New York Immigration Coalition, I want to thank Speaker Pelosi for coming across the country. Even though if you're from California, we still love you here in New York. But Speaker Pelosi has made it a priority for the new House of Representatives to talk about justice for immigrants, and we are thankful for that. And I also want to thank the rest of our amazing congressional delegation, Congress members Carolyn Maloney, Jerry Nadler, and of course our champions, Yvette, Clarke, and Nydia Velazquez. Yvette Clarke has been working on justice for TPS holders for years. And Nydia Velazquez, thank you, Yvette. And Nydia Velazquez, what can you say? If there is a fight to be taken to Donald Trump, you want La Luchadora at the front of that fight. Friends, this legislation is a shining example of what happens when you get elected officials and champions working together with advocates. And I want to recognize that there are so many organizations here in New York who have fought for so many years on these issues. Groups like ADICAR, African Communities Together, the Asian American Federation, Haitian Women for Haitian Refugees. The list goes on and on. CPC, the Chinese American Planning Council, Min Kwan Center, Atlas DIY. There are so many organizations that have fought this fight for years. And on behalf of those organizations and the NYSC, I am proud to announce today that we are launching a statewide campaign to get every single member of the New York congressional delegation to sign on to this bill, because that is what we need. And let me tell you why we need that in New York. It's because there are 100,000 young New Yorkers and 26,000 TPS holders right here in the state of New York who could benefit from this. And what does this bill mean for them? It means hope. It means the promise of a secure future. It means that they can put down roots and achieve the kind of brighter, secure, and more prosperous future that they deserve. And that is critical for those hundreds of thousands of young New Yorkers. And that is why we are going to be fighting for this. And the crystallization, the example of that is really one person that I'd like to introduce. Her name is Vanessa. She has been here for more than 25 years. And she came to Cabrini Immigrant Services a couple years ago. And Cabrini is an amazing organization just a couple blocks from here, working with immigrant communities on the Lower East Side. And she got help on her DACA. And that is what this legislation means to people like Vanessa. It means hope, and it means the promise of a brighter future. So please join me in welcoming Vanessa to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. First of all, thank you, Nydia, Congresswoman, and our speaker, Nancy, for being here. My name is Vanessa. I am 28 years old. I am a DACA recipient. I've been here since I was 2.5. So needless to say, New York City is my only home. When I think of a DREAM Act, I think of being here permanently. I think of being considered an American. I think of all the struggles my family has gone through, all the struggles my family continues to go through, for one single reason, and that is to be considered an American, just like all of you. The Dream and Promise Act is a permanent solution. It gives us a pathway to citizenship. It means that dreamers like us wouldn't be stuck in the limbo when DACA is unfairly terminated, when they take us through emotional roller coasters in and out of the courthouses. It also means that I am not scared to go out and work and study. I can come home to my child every night. It means that I can give a stability that my family doesn't have at this moment. It means that there's more than, I don't know how many of us I know in this struggle that fight and talk and are always on the front lines for any type of support that we get from these amazing Congress members. So with that said, we want a clean DREAM Act. We want a clean solution. We don't want to harm any of our immigrant communities. Those communities include our parents, our sisters, our brothers, and even if they're not our brothers, we consider them, because us as Dreamers consider TPS, DED, our brothers and sisters. We would never want a solution that means that it would harm them, that it would mean breaking up mixed status families. So today I want to ask all our congressmen to please sponsor this bill. Sponsor our wonderful and fierce Nydia Velazquez, our Congress member. She is the fierce person that has come forward with this, that has always supported our immigrant communities here in the Lower East Side, and continues to do so without us ever expecting more from her. So I ask, sponsor the bill. Vote for a clean HR .6. Vote for it to not harm anybody else, to not add on anything that will include border security or anything that will hurt our families in any way. Just think that at the heart of this, there's people like us Dreamers, our TPS, that have been here for more than 20 years, that know no other home but this one. And if we were sent back to a home that we don't know, that's not a solution. That's a problem. So thank you very much. So please welcome our speaker, Pelosi. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vanessa, for sharing your story with us, for the courage that you have and the difference that you are making. I join you in saluting Congresswoman Velázquez. I'm so glad to be here with her and our colleague who is the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus Immigration Task Force, Yvette Clarke. And Yvette Clarke is very important in all of this. We're all happy to be here with Mr. Chairman, whose committee this will come out of, Jerry Nadler, the chair of the Judiciary Committee. I know that Carolyn Maloney is here. Carolyn Maloney, thank you. And Mr. Espaillat just joined us, Congressman Espaillat, a champion on all of these issues, and an honor to be with you, Mr. Mayor. But I know that we're all just happy to be here with Vanessa and Perla and Steve and Hector. They're our VIPs today, and the others who have joined us. Just to place this in a little bit of history, because I want to associate myself with the remarks of everyone who went before, just to confirm that we are all on the same page with this. When the mayor talked about our Italian-American heritage, people make a fuss that I'm the first woman speaker, but the first Italian-American speaker, that means a lot to me as well. But when people came here, and they were in these tenements, they were Irish, they were German, they were Italians, they were Jewish, the list goes on, they were Chinese, and others that came after. But when the Italians were here, they were called WAPs. WAPs. And you know what that means? Without papers. That's right. And that's all we're talking about right now. People are without papers. So we'd hope that all of those who then got their papers will be there to help others get theirs. Nydia Velazquez, let's go back to a while back, Nydia Velazquez was chair of the Hispanic Caucus. The bill, the DREAM Act was put forth by Lucille Roel Allard of California, as was indicated. And Nydia was the force behind passing it in the House of Representatives, just going member to member to member. In fact, the whole Hispanic Caucus went member to member to member. It wasn't easy. This was a while ago. And she was successful, and she has never given up on this. And now expanded to the work that Yvette Clarke is doing on temporary protected status. It's ridiculous. People have been here a long time, contributed to the greatness of America. And then the DED, which is urgent. It's just a matter of days. So this legislation, the DREAM and Promise Act, is urgent for our country. You know all the provisions. I won't go into it because others have and will. The personal stories that you will hear, I've heard from Vanessa, you hear from Perla, and others today, are the most eloquent reasons why we should pass this legislation. But as Nydia said, these immigrants, when immigrants come here with their hopes and dreams and aspirations and determination to make the future better for their families, that optimism, that courage, their American traits, and all of these immigrants make America more American. So to be here, Kevin, thank you. Kevin Jennings, thank you for your hospitality here at this Tenement Museum. I feel some vibes coming through the ground here of all those hopes and dreams that existed in this building and then went on to help build America. But don't take our word for it. I'm just going to read you in closing from Ronald Reagan, the president I quoted most, Mr. Mayor, on the campaign trail. And let me just say how honored I am to be here with Mayor de Blasio. He makes us all very, very proud across the country, not just because he's Italian-American, but whether it's housing or immigrants, you name the subject. This is what Ronald Reagan said. I'm not going to read the whole quote because it's long. Thank you, darling. Thank you for being here. It's okay with me. I don't know. I refer Ronald Reagan's last speech. This is the last speech I will make as President of the United States, he said. I refer that to you. Go see it on the website because it's a beautiful speech. I'll just say this much of it. Thanks to each wave of new arrivals to this land of opportunity, we're a nation forever young, forever bursting with energy and new ideas, and always on the cutting edge, always leading the world to the next frontier. This quality is vital to our future as a nation. If we ever close the door to new Americans, our leadership in the world would soon be lost. Amen. Ronald Reagan. Amen. Ronald Reagan. So this is it. So Ronald Reagan, George Herbert Walker Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, up until now, all of the modern presidents have understood what immigration means to America and the constant reinvigoration of our country. Right now, we're in a little bit of a difficult situation, but we shall overcome. And that we have many more witnesses to, people to bear witness to the need for all of this. But I'll follow the mayor's lead and say some words in Spanish. Si se pueda. With that, I'm very pleased to yield the floor to the distinguished chairman of the Judiciary Committee, a man that's going to make it happen on his committee as we bring it to the floor, person committed to the constant reinvigoration of America by way of our immigration policy. Aren't we proud of New Yorker, Mr. Chairman, Jerry Nadler?
Thank you very much, Nancy. This is a question of simple justice, not of high policy, but of simple justice and simple humanity. When you're talking about people who have lived here since they were 2.5 years old, who don't remember another country, it is simple cruelty to take it away from them. And it is cruelty that is unnecessary. It serves no purpose. Governments sometimes must do cruel things. We seek to minimize that, but sometimes governments must do harsh things. But government should never indulge in gratuitous cruelty. Cruelty to people for no beneficial purpose whatsoever. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the dreamers. We're talking about the people who are here from TPS, people who have been here for 20, 30 years, people who grew up here, people who know no other country. What benefit to the United States is gained by deporting them? What benefit to anybody is gained? It is simply gratuitous cruelty. And a great country like the United States should not be cruel, should not be gratuitously cruel, and should be just. And that this bill is a matter of simple justice and simple decency. And it's not more complicated than that. References are always made, to the poem by Emma Lazarus on the Statue of Liberty, "Give me your tired, your huddled, your masses yearning to breathe free." But I'll go to a different quote on the Liberty Bell, an older quote on the Liberty Bell hanging in Philadelphia. In Philadelphia is the Liberty Bell. And on the Liberty Bell is a quote from the Bible. It says, "Thou shalt proclaim liberty throughout the land, and unto all the inhabitants thereof," to all the people who live there. Not to the citizens, not to the distinguished, but to everyone who lives there. And that's what we're talking about. Immigration policy in general, you can debate how many immigrants we should admit each year. You should debate what the priorities of different groups are. Those are legitimate subjects for debate. It is not a legitimate subject of debate to say, let's tear apart families. Let's take people who've lived here all their lives or who've lived there for 30 years and have, since the disaster in their home countries, and have grown families here and put down roots here and have become pillars of their community. Let's tear them apart. That's not a subject for debate. That's simple cruelty. So I am very, very happy to endorse this bill, to support this bill. We had a hearing on the subject in the Judiciary Committee a few weeks ago. We will have a markup to report the bill before the end of April. And I anticipate the bill being on the floor of the House sometime in May. We will pass it. We will do justice. We will do mercy. And then we will see what we can do to see the United States Senate upholds the greatness of this country. Thank you. Now I have the distinct honor of introducing the head of 32BJ, Hector Figueroa.
Buenos días, familia. I want to welcome, bienvenida, our leader Pelosi to New York City. I want to thank Congressman Nadler, Maloney, Clarke, Velázquez, Espaillat, everyone. I hope I'm not leaving anyone behind. And our good allies from the New York Immigration Coalition, Made the Road, ADICAR, African Communities Together, and many other groups. And particularly a salute and also an invitation to our friends from labor, all the labor unions that are here, our own members in 32BJ. We are 172,000 members across 11 states, and we belong to a union of 2 million members of SEIU, but we're part of a bigger movement of over 60 million union workers, and we need to make this a priority. I know we can do this. We can get the Dream and Promise Act passed if we all work together to that end. This immigration is a labor issue. Immigration is a labor issue. Dream and promise, sueños y promesas, is a labor issue. Because it is not just about the dreamers or the promise to make sure that TPS recipients can be here in this country, DED recipients. It's also about the dream and the promise that they represent to our country and to our economy. The dreams that they have for themselves are our dreams. The promises that they make to work hard, pay taxes, and make our communities stronger is the promise of America. And we cannot betray that promise, and we cannot shatter that dream. We have to pass sueños y promesas, no matter what the politics of the moment and the tactical calculations in Congress. We ask Republicans and Democrats alike to do what is right for these members of our communities, members of our unions. We have to make dream and promesas really true and factual. It needs to happen. Can we do that? Yes. Sí se puede, ¿verdad? There is nothing temporary about these fellow Americans. There's nothing temporary about these workers. And I want you to meet some of them, because it's really about them. And being about them means that it's about us. What kind of a country, what kind of a place America is to be. So I'd like you to listen carefully to their stories, to the words of 32 BJ member Perla Canales from Honduras. Please come here to join me. And to our sister, Howard Johnson from Liberia, a DED student. She's working on her PhD. And then Anil Shahi, who is from Nepal, member of Adhikar, and also has graduate degrees. And he is really, really representative of what are the people that we have to keep here in our country, contributing, and let's fight for each and one of them. Shahi, come here. So with that, Perla Canales, el micrófono es suyo.
Gracias. Good morning, everybody. My name is Perla Canales. I'm from Honduras. I have TPS for 20 years. In 1998, I got it. My life is this country. I'm living here for 27 years. I hope so soon pass this bill, because thank you, final. Thank you, everybody. Really, I'm so happy to be here. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry. And I'm very excited because I hope to soon pass this one, because I want to pass Christmas for my family and my country. That's number one. And the second one, I want to still contribute for this country. This is my home, and I have a good job, my benefits, everything. That's my life over here. And I'm not thinking about it, but my country is very dangerous. Honduras, Central America is very dangerous right now. And I'm scared, and I'm thinking to same to me in my country, because I have family here too, anyway, my daughter, my granddaughters. And I don't want to live in here, my family too. And I can bring to my country too, because it's very dangerous. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Nydia. Thank you, Clarke. Mayor, thank you very much to support with me, like my people working too. Thank you so much.
So, I guess you take questions now, or
No,
maybe
no.
Howard can say
No,
a few words?
no.
Or that was Yvette Clarke. Yeah, Congresswoman Clarke.
But
So
she's
Howard?
not saying it.
She could.
Yeah.
You want to say just yeah, go ahead and yeah.
Sure, I'll come up and say a few
Because
things.
you are a DED, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then it's Congresswoman Clarke.
As a Liberian National and DED, I think this is the most exciting thing that's happened for me in a very long time. We've had a lot of ups and downs with renewal of DED and things like that. It just really made it really difficult to even complete your PhD studies when you can't work anymore, because, your EAD was delayed by a couple of months. And, working, your boss constantly asking you, so is your DED going to be renewed, or when you're getting pushed out of a company because, they don't really think your DED is going to be renewed this time because, they've heard that, they've canceled it. And so I think this is an important time for me. I think this is the most support I've seen. When you're struggling in your family, you're the only one in DED, and you think, there's no support out there. And I'm not one to tear up very often, and I think I'm tearing up a bit here because, I just feel so supported by so many people here. And I want to say that I don't even wear a hijab usually, but just fear of being, talked about at work or, something like that. I said, I'm not going to come up here and show my face. And so I'm job hunting as well. And I just didn't want to be, excluded from that opportunity just because they're afraid that, DED may not be renewed. And so I just want to tell everyone here, thank you so much for the support. It's really meaningful to me. I've been in the U.S. for 20 years, and, potentially I could call it home, but we'll see. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anil. I'm from Nepal, a TPS holder since 2015. And I've been here for 29 years. And throughout those years, all of it in New York, by the way, and I've been doing all kinds of odd jobs because I didn't have a status. And my dream was always to get a graduate degree. And you know what? The TPS allowed me to do so. As a matter of fact, I just submitted my thesis just a couple of months ago. Now I have a master's degree. Thank you. And like I said, I've been living here for 29 years. I've driven cab here. I've done all kinds of odd jobs. And New York is not only about Times Square for me. It's not only about taking the Staten Island ferry to go past the Statue of Liberty. It's about getting off that ferry in Staten Island, take a local bus to get to my work. It's about eating chorizos out in Corona off a street vendor. You see, I even know where the direction of Corona is from here. Brooklyn, Staten Island, Bronx. So New York is really my home. And after I got my TPS, I even went back home for a brief visit. And I realized my heart is always here, right here in New York. And again, like everyone said, thank you so much, Speaker Pelosi, everyone else who's been with us. And it means a lot. All the organizations that are involved. I'm with Adhikar, of course. And and everyone else who's involved in this, thank you so much, and I hope we'll do it, and I'm sure, I not only hope, I'm sure we will do it. Si se puede.
So our next speaker, and you have to accept, these workers are going through a lot, right? So let's give them another hand for sharing their story. Our next speaker is a sister who recently, alongside with Congressman Espaillat and Congresswoman Velázquez, helped reunite one of our members, Babasila, who was separated from his family. She's a champion of immigrant rights for the longest. It's my pleasure to introduce Congresswoman Yvette Clarke.
Thank you very much, Hector, and let me again welcome our speaker, who's been a fearless champion for close to a decade, if not more, for comprehensive immigration reform. Her leadership strengthens all of our spines in this fight for righteousness. Let me also take this opportunity to herald my mentor, a woman who has done extraordinary work making sure that we hold together in the fight for comprehensive immigration reform, who helped to craft H.R. 6, a sister in the delegation, the Honorable Nydia Velazquez. And of course, our leader, Lucille Roybal Allard, who the three of us together have brought forth the Dream and Promise Act. And it's so critical at this time that we all stand together to make sure that this bill passes. This is about our collective humanity. And like our mayor, and I'd like to acknowledge him for all of the work that he's done, also acknowledge the chairman of our Judiciary Committee, Jerry Nadler, and of course, Congresswoman Maloney and Congressman Espaillat. You know, as we talk about this issue, I don't want it to seem as though it's just about legislation and all the great things that it brings. It talks to the soul of who we are as a people, as a nation. And, you know, I think about, you know, 2 Caribbean immigrants who came to the United States in the 1950s, didn't have a map, came as a result of being foreign students, had English, but also had their own sort of patois, if you will, trying to navigate how to raise 2 children in the United States of America, a nation they really didn't know themselves, but were becoming more and more American with each day. And how they had to figure out their careers, their education, navigating their American dream. Part of that meant you had to know who your neighbors were. You had to extend beyond your immediate surroundings to understand, to learn what it is to be American. And it also meant that they had to do everything in their power to become citizens. And so as their lives became more and more transformed, they were engaged in the communities in which they lived. They fought for social justice. One of those parents, one of those immigrants, decided that she was going to use her voice to amplify the voices of many immigrants, many who look like me, many who oftentimes get caught up because of racial profiling and a whole host of other issues that snatched them out of communities, snatched them out of families. She raised her voice so loud that she became the first foreign-born woman elected to the New York City Council in 1991, and that was my mother. And so the Dream and Promise Act is real to me. It is real to the people that we represent across the length and breadth of this nation, but the 9th Congressional District is ground zero for the type of havoc that has been unleashed by Donald Trump. The families you've heard in TPS tend to be blended families, tend to be families where someone is a resident, someone is a citizen, and someone is here on TPS or DACA. Someone is here because their departure was deferred. So it is our responsibility, if we're going to move forward, and we are, as a nation, bound together by immigrants, bound together by families and communities that make this American dream real in each and every one's lives, it's critical that we pass H.R. 6. And so the word here today is don't come clapping, go out there tweeting. Go out there with the first fierce urgency of now, because these families can't wait. Liberians will be removed from their benefits by March 31st. March 31st. This is real. It's happening in our communities as we speak, not only here in New York, but across this nation. So I want to thank all of the advocates, 32BJ and Hector Figueroa, Make the World Road by Walking. There's so many advocacy organizations that are out there and have been out there doing this work. It is now time for our legislative body, our national legislative body, to act. What we're asking for is not anything extraordinary. Generations of others have come before us without papers. And they have made Americans. They have made us all Americans. It is now our time, our generation's time, to do what those who have come before us have done, make more Americans. And that's what we're in the midst of doing. So it is my honor to be here with you as we go into this battle to pass H.R. 6 and to say to each and every one, it's not enough to come out and to sit and watch the press conference or those of you who may be viewing it, let us make sure that we get this legislation passed. It is now my honor to bring forth once again our fearless leader, Congresswoman Nydia Velazquez.
Thank you. Thank you. And sí, bueno, buenos días. Estamos aquí con la líder Nancy Pelosi, una mujer comprometida, y el alcalde Bill de Blasio. Ambos han sido campeones peleando por traer justicia para los inmigrantes en los Estados Unidos. También tenemos a la delegación de Nueva York, incluyendo, of course, Adriano Espaillat y todos los demás, Jerry Nadler, la congresista Carolyn Maloney, Yvette Clarke, que es coautora de esta legislación. Estamos aquí para decirle a los Estados Unidos y a la administración de Donald Trump: vamos a traer justicia y vamos a honrar los valores que traen los inmigrantes a los Estados Unidos. Estados Unidos es Estados Unidos por la contribución y la tradición de lo que ha hecho este país, América. Y eso han sido todos ustedes. Vamos a hacerlo en mayo. Ustedes pueden contar que vamos a estar en la Cámara de Representantes votando por esta legislación. Thank you. And now I'm going to yield 30 seconds to Congressman Espaillat.
Madam Speaker, those are 30 seconds for sure. I got another 20.
And you know that I'm holding the gavel.
Wow. Orchard Street, wow. I used to come here as a young man, really, to negotiate my leather jackets, right? That was a New York City tradition. I used to come from another part of the world, Washington Heights, to negotiate my $20 leather jacket right here. And so this is the new town. We've been for far too long on defense. But we got a new sheriff in town. And her name is Nancy Pelosi. And so Nydia Velazquez, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, and Congresswoman Alar from California, they have a bill. It's H.R. 6. It's about the soul of our nation, who we are. And we're going to fight tooth and nail for all of us, for this city, for this country that has harbored dreams and aspiration, and it's a factory of dreams that allow me to come here and buy a $20 leather jacket. God bless you and keep the faith. 29 seconds.
Okay, well, thank you so much, and to all the speakers, all the organizations, all the activists, and to the Dreamers, TPS, and DED holders. Now we're going to open the floor for any questions that you may have. Yes, sir.
What are the chances of getting this through the Senate, and presumably it might be vetoed by the president, an override? I mean, what are we thinking here?
Nancy? Well, look, this is one way where we are going to continue. Public opinion is everything. So what we need is what the polls are showing us, that the American people believe that this is the right thing to do. And so today, what we are asking is everyone to knock on doors, particularly no one from New York, every member from New York should be a co-sponsor of this bill. Even in upstate New York, where farmers are telling us that they cannot find workers, and therefore consumers will be paying more for their groceries. It's the right thing to do. And for those who are going to face re-election in the Senate, they need to listen to their constituents. Yes? Sure.
Well, I associate myself with the remarks of Congresswoman Velázquez, or may I call her Madam Chair of the Small Business Committee, the first Latina ever to chair a committee in the Congress of the United States. And let me acknowledge Assemblywoman Simon, who is here. Thank you for being there so many times for us as well. The Congresswoman said it very clearly. Public sentiment is everything. Abraham Lincoln. Here I'm quoting all these Republican presidents. Ronald Reagan, Abraham Lincoln. Public sentiment is everything, he said. With it, you can accomplish almost anything. Without it, practically nothing. Yeah. but the public sentiment is there. Now, 80–90% of the public support the Dreamers, and now the TPS and DED is part of all of that. So what we have to do is make sure the public knows what the choice is in the Congress, as the Congresswoman said. And I'm optimistic that the Senate, because the senators passed comprehensive immigration reform in a bipartisan way a number of years ago, they have a better sensitivity to the diversity of their states than some of our colleagues on the Republican side have to diversity in their own districts. So I'm optimistic. We're not passing this as a message. We're passing this as a measure to make a difference in people's lives. But again, inside maneuvering can only go so far. Outside mobilization gives us hope. That's the key, as the Congresswoman said. Thank you.
Speaker Pelosi, you were given this chance to perhaps negotiate on the docket during the last CR fight. Why take it up now when it seems like the Senate is just going to say this is DOA, basically?
No, that wasn't, the DACA recipients did not want us endangering their parents and other immigrants in our country by what the Republicans might have put into such a bill. That was a decision that was made by all of us to just go forward with what we had done. No, that wasn't even an option for us. No.
Madam Speaker, since you talked about so many presidents, I wonder how you feel about Bill de Blasio running for president.
New York press corps is very welcoming.
As I always say, when somebody is serious about running, I'll be serious about commenting on it. And I think the mayor is serious about it, but when he makes his announcement, then I'll answer your question. Thank you.
Well handled.
Unless he wants to say anything else.
Yes.
Speaker Pelosi, are there specific GOP senators that you're planning on targeting to get them to vote for this when it eventually goes to the Senate?
Not that I would be willing to divulge right now. But we work in a bipartisan way, more than you would expect. Carolyn Maloney can tell you that, Madam Chair of the Joint Economic Committee in the Congress, another New York chairperson, Elliot Engel, so many New Yorkers chairing meetings, but we work in a bipartisan way more than you might expect. And we believe that what is put forth in this legislation is fair, as Jerry said. It's rejecting cruelty. It's about fairness. So we just think if they're aware of what's in it and the public is aware of what is in the bill, that we will have success. But I wouldn't give you a list, no, not right now.
Yes.
In the event the Senate, you get the votes in the Senate, Senator McConnell says, okay, I'll bring it to the floor, and it passes, and it gets to President Trump's desk. He said before he has great sympathy for the Dreamers, although he's said different things about TPS and people who are there. What gives you confidence that he would be receptive to this bill?
Well, let me just say, the administration, over the past couple of years that they've been in office, have said different things. On TPS, they have said to me at one point, these people have been here a long time, so TPS from Central America, the people have been here, they've raised families, have jobs, started business, served in our military and the rest. We shouldn't even go near that. I had more of a fight with them on Haiti, and then they put it off 18 months, but that wasn't good enough for us, but at least it wasn't the next day as they, in real time as they had anticipated. So they understand that TPS is about just wrenching people from a life that they have established here. DED, the deferred
Enforced departure.
enforced departure, that's like any minute now. That really should be something that isn't a no-brainer. Can I use that expression?
Yes, you can.
Sí se puede. And of course, the Dreamers. The president has always spoken in a very positive way about the Dreamers because they enjoy such a position in our country. The public supports what they are doing. We all recognize that TPS is really very unfair and DED is urgent. So again, public opinion. Yeah. Public opinion.
Madam Speaker, the president's budget contains not a dime to replace the Hudson River tunnels. Will you make that a Democratic priority?
I'm sure our New York delegation will have something about that. But let's just say about the president's budget. A budget should be a statement of our values. What's important to us as a nation should be in how we put the priorities into a budget. whether it's infrastructure, and Jerry Nadler has been a champion on not only judiciary, but the transportation committee for that, and I'm going to yield to him on that. But the president's budget, he has a budget that's predicated on a tax scam that gave 83% of the advantages to the top 1%, taking us with interest into $2 trillion added to the deficit for our children to foot the bill. And now they're saying in his budget, take $2 trillion out of Medicare and Medicaid. So and a couple $100 billion out of food stamps, tens of billions of dollars out of education. It's a terrible budget. On that specific item, though, I'm going to defer to the New Yorker on the Transportation Committee.
Well, thank you. There are two questions there, I suppose. One is about infrastructure generally, and the president spoke during the campaign about infrastructure, but he's made no proposals whatsoever. He's made no proposals about how to finance infrastructure. It's not in his budget. I think there's general agreement in the country that we need to repair our infrastructure and to advance it if we're going to have an economy in the next century. We've got to do major infrastructure, but the president has proposed nothing. On the specific tunnel, the Gateway project, it is absolutely essential not only to New York, but to New Jersey, to the entire Northeast corridor, to areas that comprise 20% of the economy of the GDP of the United States. The president's attitude is basically his head in the sand. I participated in a meeting with him a year ago, a little over a year ago, with the governors of the two states and the members of the delegations and senators, and it was pointed out, and Secretary Chow acknowledged that the state proposals are for a much smaller federal share than, and a much larger state share of the expenses than most projects, and the president acknowledged that. I don't know why he is opposing it at this point. He has not stated any reason. Hopefully that will change, because this is a catastrophe waiting to happen. If one of those tunnels goes out, and they were both flooded by Hurricane Sandy, if one of those tunnels goes out, it will knock out three-quarters. The cross river train transportation will go down by 75%. And that will be murderous to the economy of the entire Northeast of the United States. And we're just walking into that. Hopefully the president and the people around him will reconsider and understand that they don't want to create that kind of a catastrophe and have the arrow of not only of history but of blame pointed straight at them.
Any other question?
Speaker Pelosi, you've set a March 26th vote to override the president's veto on his national emergency order, but it seems like there may not be enough votes to achieve that. So why keep waiting until March 26th?
Because we're right now in district work period. Right away, at the beginning of this week, we established March 26th. We were in pro forma session. We established March 26th at the date that we would vote to override the president's veto. Whether we can succeed with the number of votes is not the point. We are establishing the intent of Congress. The president we are Article 1, the first branch of government, the legislative branch. The president has decided to be in defiance of the Constitution, to deface it with his actions. Both houses of Congress, in a bipartisan way, sent him a bill that said this is how we will address border security. He had to sign the bill to keep government open. He defied the Constitution with his action. Congress has overridden that. He did veto it. But establishing the intent of Congress will help us in the court of law and in the court of public opinion. 12 Republican senators said no to the president when he wanted to usurp the Constitution of the United States. So we didn't have it this week because we're in district work period this week. As soon as we go back on Tuesday, we will bring up that legislation. Let me just say another thing. I do believe in the campaign we had a For the People agenda to lower health care costs by lowering the cost of prescription drugs, building lower health care costs, bigger paychecks by building the infrastructure of America in a green way, and cleaner government. And we passed H.R. 1 to clean up government eliminate obstacles of participation, to advance the Voting Rights Act, some of which comes through much of which comes through Jerry's committee. But on the building infrastructure, the president has said in every conversation I've had with him as recently as St. Patrick's Day, or when we observed St. Patrick's Day last Thursday, that he wants to get that done. So we have to take him at his word that he does want to get that done. And he also wants to lower the cost of prescription drugs. So those are two areas that are our priorities that he says he wants to do. So we shall see. But we want to try to find our common ground. This is so important for security, safety. It's important for quality of life. It's important for broadband as well as surface transportation, water projects, and the rest. It's important to our country, and I hope that the president will honor the commitment that he has made to do the infrastructure legislation. We'll see.
Well, thank you all for being here today, and to all of you, this is a call to action. We need to make phone calls, tweet, use social media, and everything that we got in order to get this done. Thank you very much.